cafeteria buzzed with noise, trays clattering and students laughing in their usual groups. But as the doors swung open, a hush seemed to ripple through the room for just a moment. A girl no one had seen before walked in, shoulders hunched, clutching her tray tightly, her eyes darting as if she were searching for a place to hide. She was new, that much was obvious. Her clothes were a little outdated, her shoes scuffed, and her hair pulled back into a simple ponytail. While some students simply glanced and returned to their conversations, 3 boys in the corner noticed her, and instead of offering kindness, they decided to make her their target. The boys whispered among themselves and chuckled loudly, making sure the new girl could hear. "Where'd she get those shoes, the trash bin?" one sneered. Another chimed in, "Look at her tray. She's eating like she's never seen food before." The third leaned back in his chair and said with a smirk, "Bet she won't last a week here." Their laughter rang out across the cafeteria, drawing curious glances from other students. The girl froze in the middle of the room, her face flushed red, her eyes shining with unshed tears. She lowered her head and quickly slid into an empty seat at the far end of a table alone. For a while, it seemed like the boys had won. The cafeteria returned to its chatter, and the new girl sat silently, poking at her food, trying to make herself invisible. But what no one knew was that she carried something within her. Something that would change the entire room just minutes later. She wasn't just a shy girl starting over at a new school. She had a story, a gift, and a strength that had been forged through pain far deeper than anyone there could imagine. As the boys kept laughing, a teacher walked by, announcing something that caught the attention of every student. "Remender," he said loudly, "today during lunch, we'll have a short open mic session for the talent showcase this weekend. Anyone who wants to sign up, now's the time." A hush fell again as kids began whispering. The cafeteria stage in the corner, usually ignored, suddenly looked like the center of the universe, and to everyone's shock the new girl stood up. Slowly, she walked toward the stage, her tray left untouched, her steps small but steady. The boys smirked even wider now. "This is gonna be good," one of them snickered. Others in the cafeteria leaned forward, curious. Some expected her to embarrass herself, to stumble or stutter, to give them another reason to laugh. The room quieted as she climbed the stage and adjusted the microphone with trembling hands. For a moment, she looked like she might back down. She swallowed hard, glanced at the sea of unfamiliar faces, and took a deep breath. Then she began to sing. Her voice was soft at first, fragile like glass. But with each note, it grew stronger, clearer, and more powerful than anyone had expected. The cafeteria seemed to freeze in time. Every conversation, every whisper, every laugh stopped. The girl's voice filled the room with emotion so raw and piercing that it felt as though she was singing directly into the heart of every person there. It wasn't just a song, it was a story, a confession wrapped in melody. Words of loneliness, of being misunderstood, of searching for a place to belong spilled out, weaving together into something hauntingly beautiful. The 3 boys who had mocked her sat in silence now, their jaws slack, their smirks gone. They had wanted entertainment, but instead they were witnessing something unforgettable. Even the toughest kids, the ones who never showed emotion, felt their eyes sting. Some students clasped their hands together, swaying slightly to the rhythm. By the time she reached the final note, her voice soaring high and steady, the entire cafeteria erupted, not in laughter, but in thunderous applause. Students leapt to their feet, clapping and cheering. A few even wiped away tears. The new girl stepped back from the mic, her chest rising and falling, her eyes wide with disbelief at the reaction. For the first time that day, she allowed herself to smile. It wasn't a big smile, just small trembling, but it carried years of pain releasing in that one moment. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't the girl with scuffed shoes and nervous eyes. She was the girl with a voice no one could forget. The teacher stepped forward, clearly moved, and whispered something to her before turning to the audience. "That," he said with pride, "is what courage looks like." The cafeteria cheered again, louder this time, and even the boys who had mocked her lowered their heads in shame. One of them muttered, almost to himself, I didn't know she could sing like that." Another nudged his tray nervously, unable to meet anyone's eyes. For the first time they felt the sting of silence, the weight of their cruelty being exposed. Word of that moment spread across the school within hours. Students who hadn't been in the cafeteria that day heard about the new girl with the powerful voice. Teachers mentioned her bravery in class. And slowly, she stopped eating alone. People came to sit with her, to talk to her, to ask about her music. Even the 3 boys, embarrassed and regretful, eventually approached her, not with mocking words this time, but with quiet apologies. Her challenge hadn't been just the cruelty of a few classmates. It was the crushing weight of starting over, of carrying wounds from the past, of daring to be herself in a world quick to judge. But in facing that challenge, she found not just acceptance, but respect. She taught everyone in that cafeteria a lesson they would never forget. Behind every quiet face is a story. Behind every nervous glance is a strength, and behind every laugh of mockery can rise a moment that leaves everyone speechless. By the end of the week, when the talent showcase finally came, the auditorium was packed. Students, parents, and teachers filled the seats, buzzing with anticipation for the girl who had once been mocked. And when she stepped onto that stage again, she wasn't trembling anymore. She sang with confidence, her voice echoing like a promise that no amount of cruelty could ever silence her again. And from that day forward, she was never just the new girl again. She was the girl who turned pain into power, silence into music, and cruelty into a moment of unforgettable inspiration.